Good morning. I'm Elaine Chapnick, president of the Larchmont-Mamaroneck Local Summit. Welcome to this special August meeting. The rapid spread of the COVID-19 virus has forced all of us to make drastic changes in how we live our lives. Today, we'll hear from our local elected officials, an update on our communities and how they are responding to the challenges posed by this virus. I'm now going to turn the program over to today's program chair, Peggy Jackson.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'd like to introduce you to Nancy Seligson, supervisor from the town of Mamaroneck, Tom Murphy, mayor from the village of Mamaroneck, and Carol Casazza-Herman, deputy mayor from the village of Larchmont. They'll fill us in on what's going on locally. Once we are finished with their statements, we're going to ask for everyone who has a question to raise their hand. I will call on you. Sean will open up your mic, and then you can ask your question. We have a very limited window with Tom's time, so I'm going to ask for questions, please, first for the village of Mamaroneck, and then we'll move on with some more time with Nancy and Carol. So without any further ado, welcome all, and Tom, it's your mic.
Morning. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you all for caring about your community. The village of Mamaroneck, like most communities, was heavily affected by COVID since March. We had to curtail all of our municipal operations, limit who can come into buildings, limit how our staff engaged with the public, which has been difficult, but I can say this, our staff rose to the occasion, and there was very little disruption there was no disruption in village services. There was very little disruption in the day-to-day activities of the community. The COVID tidal wave did affect our budget. We had to cut, I think we cut $2.5 million from the budget. That was so that we could keep the tax increase to a minimal increase, because we knew that there were a lot of people in the community who are out of work, a lot of people in the community who are on furlough, a lot of people in the community who are on unemployment. Like most large disruptions in life and in society, this pandemic has affected the people with the least resources the most. There has been issues with food insecurity. There will soon be issues with rent insecurity and possible evictions. I'm very happy and proud to say that I don't think anybody in the village of Mamaroneck went to bed hungry. And that is through, the hard work of the Larchmont-Mamaroneck Hunger Task Force, the Coalition for Communities. We worked in concert with them, anything they needed to feed our residents. They were feeding up to 800 residents a week on Tuesdays. That is going to be changed now. They're no longer going to be able to use the school parking lot. So we are going to give them access to Columbus Park on Tuesdays so that they can keep feeding our residents, many of whom are just barely scraping by. When this started, I said I wanted to make sure that nobody in the village of Mamaroneck went to bed hungry. We have met that goal. Shame that we have to. It's a shame that there is more of a social safety net in this country. I think one of the things that COVID has shown us is how important local government is. And I think that part of that happened, in my opinion, by the federal government just reneging on their responsibilities and turning their backs on crisis. And governments all up and down the line rose to the occasion, whether it's Village of Mamaroneck, the Village of Larchmont, the town of Mamaroneck, Westchester County, New York State, other states where you see governors that were very proactive in helping and defending their population. And, I think that it's a credit to the people who serve in these jobs, and credit to the civil servants who really went way above and beyond the call of duty. Our first responders, obviously, but just the nuts and bolts people, the DPW people who put out the barricades every week so we can have food deliveries. Then on top of that, we got hit with a large storm You know, I keep waiting for the plague of frogs to fall upon us next. But there are good things happening in the village of Mamaroneck too. You know, we are installing swings in Columbus Park for the first time. Columbus Park is the park behind the train station that serves the community of Washingtonville as their community park. It was pointed out to us that, that's the only community park without swings. And years ago, we enacted a recreation fee. And the recreation fee, when people built new dwelling units, they had to pay an $8,500, I believe, recreation fee. We have a lot of money accumulated in that account. So we were able to do something good for the people of that area. I'm very happy about that. And one of the things we're working on right now, because, you know, what we're going to see with the coming eviction situation is that, you know, there is a great need for affordable housing throughout Westchester County, and especially in the village of Mamaroneck. We always tout our diversity, but if you want to really nurture that diversity, you have to do something about it, or gentrification is going to make it all disappear. You know, I proposed a law that would hopefully encourage developers to build all affordable developments. That means that the whole building or the whole complex would have to be all affordable. And hopefully, you know, what it would do is it would give the developer leeway on the recreation fee, so that, you know, it's just a little bit of an incentive for people to come and give us the affordable housing that we need, so that our policemen, firemen, you know, people who work at jobs that pay less than $75,000, $50,000, even $40,000 can have a stake in its community, can stay in its community. Because especially the village of Mamaroneck was always been a middle class, lower middle class community where everyone got along and everyone worked together. We want to see that continue going forward. So I think that's going to be, we see people wanting to move up from the city to places like Mamaroneck, welcome on new residents, but, you know, we want to also provide a way for people who grew up, people who built this community, for their children to remain here. You know, I have a grandchild living in the village right now. I hope someday him and his offspring will be able to stay in this community. And that is a lot of what the village of Mamaroneck is. It's families that have been here for generations and generations, and we want to nurture that. And, you know, also, you know, the village of Mamaroneck started an initiative to kind of assess how we are doing in terms of our racial equality and what we are doing, what we could do better to make this a more welcoming place. You know, our policies and procedures, what could be done to make them more neutral, and to begin a process of looking at, you know, the fact that, you know, in 400 years of our history, we have not really had an in-depth discussion of how race has affected our community and the nation as a whole. And I think this is once again one of those areas where local governments are going to lead the way, because I don't see a lot of that coming out of the federal government in the near future. So that being said, I think I'll stop, and I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate going first. As you can see, this isn't my home office. This is where I work. So I'm just trying to squeeze this in between fixing elevators. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Nancy?
I thought you wanted to go for questions for the Village of Mamaroneck first. Is that right?
We don't have any yet, so.
Oh, okay, great. All right, thanks. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Thank you to the summit for inviting us and talking about what's gone on with the COVID situation. As Tom said, it all started in early March when the local governments recognized that they were going to have to respond, and not even have to, but needed to for everyone's sake. And there was a lot to respond to. I declared a state of emergency on March 13th in the town of Mamaroneck, which enabled the town and any municipality who declares a state of emergency to respond quickly to rapidly changing situations, including suspending certain laws. And both New York State and Westchester County had declared state of emergencies as well. County Executive George Latimer started thrice weekly conference calls with the chief elected officials from the municipalities, and the state actually was holding weekly conference calls. So that was the start of interacting on all the government levels to try and figure out what was going on, how we were going to respond, how we were going to take care of moving forward with government services and taking care of our residents. I'm proud to say that the town of Mamaroneck continued all our government services throughout the entire pandemic situation and continues to do so today, but we did it differently. We had to do it differently. I began issuing daily robocalls and email blasts to residents in the unincorporated area of the town of Mamaroneck. If you live in that area and didn't hear from me during that time, it's because we don't have your cell phone number or your email address. So please go to the town website and go to the emergency button, that's red button, it says Swift 911. Give us your cell phone number and your email address, because I can't reach you in an outage unless we have that information. In order to protect the safety of the staff of the town center and the residents, we did change the way we did that the employees did their jobs. We split the employees and staff into groups, and we had them coming in on different days. We actually closed the town center for 2 days a week and just had, we're open Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We are now completely fully open every single day of the week, but by appointment only for the public. We staggered the starting times of the sanitation workers to protect them so that they weren't all together at the same time. And we implemented curbside pickup for garbage, which was something new that we hadn't done before, all in an effort to protect employees and make their jobs a little safer and try and separate folks some more. We canceled all boards and commission meetings in the beginning. So all the planning board, zoning board, board of architectural review, those kinds of meetings were really put on hold, and we asked them not to hold their meetings unless there was an urgent issue that needed to be heard. And the town board meetings started to be conducted via Zoom, just like this meeting. But it took us a while, to figure out how to do all this. Of course, we got masks for everyone in the town employees. We asked everyone to wear masks. We have now implemented plastic shields in some of the more high traffic areas in the town center for individual offices. So people are actually, blocked by a plastic shield or protected by a plastic shield. But now everyone in the town center does wear masks as they move around and do their business. Of course, first responders, police, fire, ambulance workers all continue to provide that service at the exact same level. So essential services never curtailed in any way. Under the town state of emergency, I did suspend certain laws in the town of Mamaroneck to try and make life a little easier for residents. We banned the use of leaf blowers at that time, which was before the normal ban, which begins June 1st, recognizing that everyone was either working from home, everyone's living at home, that's for sure, not able to go out, and trying to teach school from home. We recognized that we wanted to try and eliminate some of the louder noises and disturbing noises in the community. So we also suspended rock removal, which is the rock chipping that takes place when larger houses are being built or they're trying to get through rock to create more space for a building. And I think that the residents really appreciated that. We also suspended some of the parking regulations in the apartment area, the Washington Square area, to make life a little easier for residents there, recognizing that people were needed to keep their cars on the street more. People needed to park more overnight. We usually have, we usually do not allow parking overnight in the town of Mamaroneck, but we suspended that law as well, recognizing that college students are home, their families and households have more cars, and they need to park on the street. Our regular summer programs, such as day camps, were canceled. That was really sad and a really big decision that we all had to make, but it became more and more clear that we had to make that decision, getting closer to the camps. But due to the ingenuity and hard work of our recreation department, they did come up with alternate programs, and they are still ongoing. There are lots of different virtual, online, and some in-person programs for children this summer that are really creative and really fun. We had to decide what we're going to do with the Hummocks pool. I'm very happy to say that we were able to open it on June 30th, which was a great advantage to the community. We were so worried that we weren't, that we might not be able to open the pool. And as we, all of us in the municipalities, as we learned how to function and how to change and how to pivot, we were responding to executive orders from Governor Cuomo and trying to figure out how to implement those and operationalize those. But right now, the Hummocks pool remains open, which is fantastic. We have a new system though for using it. You don't need a pool permit. You simply go onto the town website and you register for a time frame. It's a $5 charge per person, except if you're 1 year old or less, you don't get charged. And you get a 2-hour time slot to enjoy the Hummocks pool. Of course, that's in an effort to limit the number of people there, make sure that we can have social distancing. You have to wear a mask while you're there if you're not in the pool. But we're very happy that the pool is open for the public, and it will continue to be so. There's bathrooms available at the pool, but there's no food concession and no locker rooms available. So it really is different. Some of our ongoing new initiatives, ongoing and new initiatives. One, census. Everyone needs to respond to the census. Town of Mamaroneck is at 72.9% response, which sounds really good, but we want to get it much higher than that, because remember, the census response really determines our state and federal aid to our communities and our representation in Congress and on the county board. Voting. We have gotten a lot of inquiries, including from Elaine, thank you very much, about voting. We've been waiting for the state to give us some of the, to confirm some of the information, but we know there will be and is early voting in the state of New York. It begins October 23rd. The town center in the town of Mamaroneck will be an early voting location. Anyone can vote early at that location. And we have not learned the times yet that we will be set, but recognize that it includes weekends. There is no reason to wait till the election day in November to vote. You can do it early. There's no lines. It's simple. It's easy. You don't have to worry about being crowded with other people during the coronavirus. It really is the best way to vote. So there also will be absentee ballot availability. That's a little more complicated. But we have put a voting banner on the town's website. So please, if you have any questions, go to the Town of Mamaroneck website. You'll see a voting banner on top of the homepage. Press onto that. It will give you all the information that we have to be able to help you plan how you're going to vote in November. Jeff King, councilman in the town of Mamaroneck, has stepped forward to spearhead a task force on racial equality in the town of Mamaroneck. And we have 5 members of the community that are sitting on that task force, and they are going to be working with our police department and also working with President Obama's Executive Order 205, which outlined a whole procedure and process for reviewing police procedures and reviewing racial equality in a community. So they are just starting out and embarking on that. We're very excited, and Jeff is providing updates at our town board meetings. We have also seen big budget changes in the town of Mamaroneck. We're fortunate that we have a very strong fund balance, so we're not, we don't believe that we're going to be in any dire straits because of the changes in the economic situation, but we are getting monthly reviews of our financial situation at our town board meetings. We have deferred certain capital projects. We are delaying some hirings. We recognize that we have to be very careful with the changes in the economic situation. And finally, we had been talking about embarking on a comprehensive plan update for a very long time in the town of Mamaroneck. We were just about to start in March when we recognized we had to put it on hold because a lot of the community engagement entailed getting together and meeting in person with the public. We know there are ways to do it online, hoping that we will start to do some of that engagement in a different scale and a different way moving forward. But I do look forward to the comprehensive plan update. So I'm just going to add that some of our challenges going forward will be the budget. I would say resident morale and community morale is a challenge for all of us. Everyone's nerves are spread thin, and the last storm, Isaias, did not help. That was a real challenge for everyone. And I think that figuring out how school is going to work is going to be a big challenge for our community as well. And I just want to remind everyone to take precautions for the spread of coronavirus. Wear your mask, stay 6 feet apart from other people who aren't in your pod, and do not engage in large social gatherings. Thanks.
Thanks, Carol. One sec, we got one question. Elizabeth Rosenthal, do you have a question that you'd like to ask, I think, Tom, at this point?
No, I'm sorry. That was a mistake. I didn't mean to raise my hand. I was just pressing all the buttons.
Okay. Thank you.
It worked.
Great, Carol.
I have to drop off. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Tom. See you later.
Hi, Tom. Good morning, everyone, and thanks to the summit for having us. It's so important to keep everyone informed in the middle of times like these, which are certainly unusual. I am substituting for Mayor Walsh, who is taking a much-deserved vacation this week. My understanding is that we talk a little bit about a COVID response, and then, as Nancy did, expand it into some other areas. So let me just say, rather than go through all of the initial responses of the village of Larchmont, to say a lot of what we did really echoes what Nancy has done in the town. So we interacted with the county on their thrice weekly calls. Our government services did continue, but we had to think creatively about pivoting and how to deliver them in a different way. We managed our staff so that they were safer with certainly the PPE that they needed, and then also with staggered work schedules to reduce the number of people who were in any village facility. We also took the opportunity with executive orders to relieve the burden of certain restrictions, and then also ban things that were inappropriate. Like, we too did have a leaf blower ban, which was very much appreciated by those of us working from home, teaching from home, and quite frankly, just being home all of the time. Can't say enough about the dedication of our first responders through this. It should be repeated often. They have just been terrific with their dedication to the village and the community. And the same can be said for all of our municipal workers, including our Department of Public Works, which were just put upon to do different things and be extraordinarily responsive day in and day out through this crisis. What I want to spend a little bit more time, though, is on reopening, because reopening and how we interacted with our two commercial districts was just so important for the village of Larchmont. By all accounts, our initiative for outdoor dining, al fresco Larchmont, has been a smashing success. We've heard, I see Nancy smiling. We've seen Nancy out there and a lot of you out there. It certainly has been joyous after so many months of shutdown. It was vitally important to our restaurateurs in Larchmont, and certainly has provided a bump for some of our other retail businesses. But it wasn't as easy as it looked. So it's actually kind of fun to talk about how it went for the mayor and the board. We didn't quite know how this would work. We quickly thought that what we needed to do was give additional seating capacity to the restaurants. The only way to do that is to go outside, and the only way to do that is to get out into the street to do it safely. So we took over some of the parking. We quickly got cement barriers, which were not the most attractive, but stenciled some of them with our alfresco logo, which was kind of fun. And we did manage to get outdoor seating that is working to provide space in a safe way. We didn't know how much space we actually needed, so that evolved over time. I mean, I think if we've learned anything about being resilient is that you have to be flexible. So what we've quickly found is that our restaurants actually are clustered, which creates a really nice feel of these restaurant areas. Some of the merchants have put up lights. We've had Larchmont Nursery donate plants, which sit on our barriers. And quite frankly, it has a very festive and almost European street cafe feel about it. So we've gotten an awful lot of congratulations from the community, but also from the restaurant owners themselves. To a person, they have been really appreciative of the village working with them. We didn't do it in a vacuum too. We sent out a survey ahead of time to ask folks what they needed, not only restaurateurs, but the other service businesses and retailers. And everyone had a bit of a different spin on it. So we were learning as we were going. And then the last thing I would want to add, which some of you may not know, we've had private citizens step up in the form of a not-for-profit, One Larchmont, and they collected donations from the community and made those donations available to our business community in one of two ways. For those non-essential businesses that could not operate during the shutdown, small grants were available to help them cover 1 month of expenses to kind of get them through to a point where they could reopen again. And then also some funds were made available for tables, benches, umbrellas for when we did reopen outside for outside dining. So it really was a community effort, all segments of the community, business, private, and government, trying to make this work. And more to come. We're hoping to keep this going as long as the weather holds out and as long as the restaurants would like to do it. I'm optimistic we can keep this going through Halloween. And if the weather holds out, maybe longer, which will be a lot of fun. So just moving quickly, mask wearing, which is key to all of this. We have signage in the commercial district. Compliance is actually pretty robust in the commercial district. It's nice to see everyone cooperating. In other areas, perhaps playgrounds and on the street, a little less so. We keep reminding people, wear your mask, wear your mask, wear your mask. We do have our police visiting our playgrounds every day and reminding people that they really should social distance and they should wear a mask. Speaking of playgrounds, this summer, like the town, we canceled our camp, but we found a way to issue permits for some of our local vendors who had their own small camps, whether it was craft camps or acting camps or other children's activities. We allowed them to use Flint Park, again, trying to ensure that everything was done in a safe and socially distanced way. So we were able to have, be creative and have some activities. In addition, some of our local service businesses are also using the outdoor space, whether it's on-street parking space or in the parks, using it to conduct their businesses. Again, always trying to find ways to help businesses through this particular time. All village employees are back to work. During the closure, we made some physical changes to our buildings, barriers, things to make things safer. Building department visits are all by appointment. We have service windows where we never had them before in Village Hall. So never let a crisis go to waste to make some changes. Just a small change. We are now reviewing all of our bills in an online fashion. So no one, so we're minimizing the circulation of paper, which is another way that we can keep things safer. Just quickly to turn to our budget, which was mentioned by the other two municipal leaders. We will have, our budget schedule is different, I think than the other two municipalities. Our budget ends in the end of May. So we saw a shortfall for the previous fiscal year, and we're expecting a shortfall for this fiscal year that's just started. The good news is that the Village of Larchmont's revenue stream primarily comes from property taxes, and property tax payment has been right at the top in the upper 90s. So we don't expect to be impacted that way. The impact from COVID will come from the revenue stream that comes from parking permits and parking enforcement and other fees like field fees, etc. We are forecasting a revenue shortfall, but we are monitoring the budget very carefully to see what impact we will see from sales tax, county and state sales tax shortfall, and then make some more final or more responsive tweaks later in the year. We want to get a full quarter of revenue under our belt to see what the ultimate impact is going to be. But like others, we'll delay hiring. We're watching certain expenses, operating expenses carefully, and may need to delay some capital projects. Turning now to police reform, the mayor has met with Labor Council, reviewed any new laws and the executive order. She's had some preliminary meetings with the police chief about existing processes and policies, and beginning to speak to other municipalities, their approach. And so when she is back in September, I think we'll all hear more about how Larchmont is going to develop plans to respond to the executive order. And lastly, and then we'll open it up for questions, I wanted to mention that village elections have been delayed several times. So I'm hoping everybody has noticed that. So village elections will be held on September 15th. We are also going to have a referendum on the ballot. It's to move our general election day to November, the same way that 12 other villages in Westchester County already do, including the village of Mamaroneck and Pelham, as a matter of fact. And the reason for that is we're finding that having village elections in March, which is when they're normally scheduled by state law, it really is problematic in terms of the budget, because then you will have people who are elected who are being asked perhaps to support a budget that they didn't have any real role in developing. So by moving the election to November, it creates a situation where even a newly elected official will have ample time to participate in the budget development. And of course, turnout and awareness. It's kind of easy to miss a village election if it's in March. Certainly, if it's in March, then move to June, then move to September, as it has been this year. That's a bit of a problem. But I wanted to make sure everyone aware that village elections are in September, on September 15th this year. So that's it for the village of Larchmont. Perhaps we could take some questions in the remaining time.
Thank you, Carol. First question's from Ann Chodosh.
Unmute. Hi, I have actually two questions for Nancy. The first is, I am going to get an absentee ballot, and I need to know if there will be a drop-off location prior to October 24th, which is when the actual early voting starts, because I'm going to be away from the 24th, probably through Election Day. And I don't want to use the post office.
Okay, and we are also waiting for that information, because that information has to be determined by the state, is my understanding. So we are waiting for that. We are hopeful that all town halls and village halls will be drop places for absentee ballots, but we do not know yet. As soon as we know anything in that vein, we will be posting it on the website. And I will be doing a lot of outreach to folks about information as soon as we get it.
Okay, thank you. And the second question has to do with our utility bills, not what happened with ESAS, but with the actual bills. A couple of years ago, the town, if I'm not mistaken, switched us all over to Constellation New Energy and was told, oh, it'll be cheaper. Well, I just looked, and I just last month received my first bill. I live in an apartment, so I know for you home owners, you're going to laugh at this, but my bill normally was maybe $80 to $90 during non-summer. During the summer, it was maybe $120, $140, $150. July's bill was $203. August bill just came in at $180. Is someone looking at, while we thought the Constellation was better, are we revisiting that?
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up. So our the Constellation is the ESCO, the energy service contract that was hired by Westchester Power. Westchester Power is the community choice aggregation program that we all opted into, and 27 other municipalities in the county have as well. Westchester Power is a program of the nonprofit organization Sustainable Westchester. I am co-chair of Sustainable Westchester. I just want everyone to know that. The community choice aggregation program was never a promise of the cheapest rate. It was never a promise of the lowest rate. It was a promise for a fixed rate for the life of the contract for the program. So the contract expires at the end of this year. The previous contract was based on the 12-month previous average, 12-month average of utility costs before that. And the benefits of the community choice aggregation for the residents are that, one, it is a fixed rate, so you know what you will pay every single month, regardless of the fluctuations in utility prices. And you will know that you're getting your power from a renewable energy source. So that is really helping the town, the county, and the state reach its climate change goals and its energy goals. What happened this year, 2020, since April, is that the utility prices for Con Ed plummeted unexpectedly and are at the lowest they've ever been. Constellation prices did not plummet. So there has been a differential this year, and people have paid more for their electricity this year than they have in the previous years. However, this program's been going on for 3 years, and if you look at the overall 3-year costs, you have still saved money by being in this community choice aggregation program called Westchester Power. Now we're going into a renewal for this program going forward. And we have said in the town of Mamaroneck that we would agree to participate in it again at a certain rate. And we have been told by Sustainable Westchester and Westchester Power that utility rates are expected to dramatically increase, and they already are starting to. So in locking in a price now for the next year, we will hedge that a little bit, we believe, but there is no guarantee that it is always going to be a cost saving month to month. And one of the real beauties of this program is that you can opt out anytime you want without any penalty. All you have to do is go to the Westchester Power website or call Sustainable Westchester at their offices. And I just posted this information in response to postings that have been on Nextdoor and Love Larchmont. I know it's a lot of information, but we are acting in the best faith for our residents and what we think is the best for our communities. So I still think the program is very beneficial. You have saved money over the 3-year period if you look at it in total. And I think it will be saving money going forward because the utility prices are going to go way up.
Okay, thank you.
Our next question's from Rodman Reef.
Thank you for the summit this morning. I really have two quick questions. The first one is a little mundane, but sometime during the crisis, the bus route was changed from Chatsworth Avenue to Larchmont Avenue. And I'm just wondering, is that temporary or is that permanent? And if it's temporary, when is it going to go back?
I believe that was in response to some of the outdoor dining. And if it was, certainly it would go back after outdoor dining ends. I can double check, Rod, to make sure there wasn't another reason for that.
And the second question goes back to something.
Unless Nancy.
Right. Excuse me, I just wanted to say that I just received a text that the other attendees of this meeting cannot hear the questions, that they hear our answers, but they don't hear our questions. I know. So I just wanted to alert people to that. So maybe we could just briefly repeat the questions.
Okay, great. So we were asked why the bus route changed from Chatsworth Avenue to Larchmont Avenue, and my answer was that I believe it was done to accommodate some of the outdoor dining. If it was, it'll certainly go back after that, but I will check and get back to Rod on that. I also just want to point out, for those who may not be aware, we're getting some very good comments on chat from our elected officials. George and Shelley had made some comments, especially on the availability of ballot drop-off boxes. So people might want to look at the chat.
It would, if the bus route was going to go back, it would be terrific when it goes back, because it is noisy, and Larchmont Avenue, you're not used to that noise and so on. And the bus route has always been on Chatsworth.
Okay. I'll definitely look into that for you, Rod. Thanks for bringing it up.
It would have been nice if somehow the Larchmont Avenue residents were told about it before it happened, just like the leaf blower law, the leaf blower change. It is, in terms of annoyance, it is, I would say, an equivalent to that. The other question is much more mundane. How do we get absentee ballots for September 15th?
Nancy, I think a request needs to be made, but I'm not sure how that's done now. It's so dynamic.
Actually, I was going to see if George Latimer, who is on, or Steve Otis wanted to mention any of that. But my understanding is you have to send in a ballot request to the Board of Elections, and that is how we all do it. So you request an absentee ballot application first. There's actually an application for it, and you can request that online. You go to the Board of Elections for Westchester County, and you can actually download it and print it out yourself, and it's on the website. And then you print it and send it in to the Board of Elections, and they will send you an absentee ballot.
I also see Shelley Mayer saying that she can answer, so we may want to unmute Shelley Mayer.
I just want to add that it's important that you go to the County Board of Elections website and request that form, because the State Board of Elections website does not have a box for village elections. And the County Board one says March 15th, but you should still, if you want the village absentee, you have to mark that, and you can email the form back. You do not have to send it back.
Oh, I didn't know that. Great.
Email it back, and that is the best way. And you should do it quickly to make sure that you have one in advance of the September 15th election.
If I may, as the co-president of the League of Women Voters, you must be sure to sign the registration form, and you must be sure to fill out every form and make sure you've signed everything that they've asked for, including the envelopes that come with the ballot requests, because if not, they will not be counted.
And you can, I also wanted to add that in order to request an absentee ballot, you have to check why. And the reason for the coronavirus is a health issue.
A temporary illness. It's the second one. They haven't changed the form to reflect that the law has been changed. Thank you.
Next question would come from Lois Hertzberg.
I just wanted to mention that I had applied for an absentee ballot back, I guess, in March, before the primaries, that they told me to put through December 2020, just in case the election was moved. So I did that. I filled it out. I sent it in. I received my absentee ballot for the last primary, and I called yesterday to make sure I was on the list to get my absentee ballot for November. Well, the woman who answered the phone at the Board of Elections said I was not in the system and she would send me another form. So if anyone else is in that situation, I suggest that you check, because I didn't want to wait and see if I got my absentee ballot. They're sending the ballots, I believe, in September, but I didn't want to wait. So they're sending me now the form. I guess I could print it off as well to request it a second time. So that I think is important, because we all want to vote. We definitely want to vote.
Thank you. Steve Otis.
That last point is a very good point, because people that signed up for absentee ballots based upon COVID before, the law that the governor did through executive order for the June election did not at that time carry forth till the end of the year. We had a hearing a few weeks ago, a statewide hearing on these election issues, and different Board of Elections officials from around the state gave different answers to the question that was just asked about whether they would honor that earlier request for November. So the safest possible thing is, if you want an absentee ballot, regardless of what you did earlier, you should apply fresh now for November. That's the way you'll guarantee you'll get the absentee ballot.
Don't forget early voting.
Any other questions from anyone in the audience? Elaine, I think we're good. I'm going to turn it back over to you.
I want to thank all our presenters. It was really informative and helpful to everyone to know the status of our communities at this point. I also want to invite everybody to come back in a month on September 15th, when George Latimer will present to us the state of the county during all this time. That will be helpful to us as well. So thank you once again for a very enlightening presentation, and keep safe, keep masked, and keep distanced. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care, Elaine and Peggy.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Nancy.
Stay well.
Stay well, everyone.